Boy, I tell you. Hello, hello, hello. Good. Good value. Good value. Okay. All right. All right. Three. Okay. Um, okay. Let's go to YouTube. Oh boy. Oh boy.
We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. Control the all out. Control is good. 5. Roger, copy. 3. 2.
Hi, this is Charles Butler, host of the Reality Check with Charles Butler. What we try to accomplish on the Reality Check is to bring you information to make an informed decision making. People are calling President Trump a racist, an admitted and an avowed
To make you an informed decision maker. Informed decision maker. What does that mean? What do I mean by that? This is Charles Butler, host of The Reality Check. We think that it means that we give you enough information where you can go. And I always encourage people, don't believe me. Don't take what I say as face value. I encourage you to go do your homework. That's my trade. That's my moniker. Go do your homework. And I mean that. Don't take anybody's word for anything. Go do your homework. So, speaking of homework, Robert Mueller obviously didn't do his homework. And so he looked like he had dementia on the testimony yesterday. And I'm laughing because this is a guy who's a pro. This is not the first rodeo he's been to in Washington. He's been on the Hill. He's testified before numerous senators and congressmen, and he knows basically that they're wimps. They kept saying things like, oh, you're the greatest American. You're the most patriotic American we have in the room because you served in the Marine Corps, because they didn't have any guts to serve in the Coast Guard, even, let alone they couldn't make it in the Marine Corps, and certainly not become an officer. Man, this country and the elites. I'm going to, the testimony that Mueller made as he testified before Congress, and he tried to do a good job. He tried to do a good job. He stuck to the not the talking points, but he said, "Hey, I told people everything that they needed to know was in the report." Now, it was obvious that he hadn't written the report, and he wasn't that familiar with the report, but his chief of staff was. His chief of staff, I bet if we do a little background check, is a Hillary Clinton sycophant. Then you had all of these people, even though now it was clear that Mueller said he couldn't exonerate the president because he didn't have the power to exonerate the president. So why did he say it? He didn't have the power to exonerate the president. Okay, he says, well, this doesn't exonerate the president. He didn't have the power to. He doesn't have the power to exonerate the president. What the hell is he talking about? Deceitful, misleading, scary. Bad day. Not for Donald Trump, but let Rachel Maddow. And I wonder what planet these people live on. Because I know you, like me, we don't listen to MSNBC. We don't listen to CNN, the Clinton News Network. But check this out. You got to hear this because it's important that you understand what the other side is doing. Here's Rachel Maddow as she proclaims that. How does she say it? It was a bad day for Donald Trump. No, it wasn't a bad day for Donald Trump. There was nothing bad.
Employee frustration can be difficult to diagnose. Common symptoms.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, client symptoms. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So there was nothing bad about Donald Trump's day. That's the interesting part. But to let Rachel Maddow tell it, Trump had a bad day. He didn't. They're lying. And they continue to lie. And they continue to lie. And that's the frustrating, for me, that's the most frustrating part of listening to these folks because they have nothing to go on. So they lie and they lie and they continue to lie. I love it. I think it's great because I think that it's going to give Donald Trump a straight path to the White House, a straight path to over 315 votes.
He lies 3 times.
Listen to this. This is Jim
Times, and yet you don't charge him with a crime. You charge Rick Gates for false statements. You charge.
Charge Rick Gates for false statements. Let's go. Who else he charge? Come on. Who else he charge? Let's go, Jim. Come on, Jim. Man, I tell you, sometimes I'm wondering what the heck is going on. Or we're experiencing an interruption. Well, the reason we're experiencing interruptions is because everybody and his daddy are looking at these clips, man. They're out here on YouTube and they're going crazy. I'm sure this is being watched by a few million people, the same clips I'm trying to watch and the same clips I'm playing for you. I had one hell of a day today, I'll tell you that, dealing with these people from the Philippines and AT&T. I think the chairman of AT&T should be made to listen to these people at least an hour a week. Then he would pull those jobs back to
Thank
America.
you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mueller.
Lou Goldmer, my good friend, Lou Goldmer. Here we go. Let's go. Play it.
Well, first, let me ask a unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, to submit this article, Robert Mueller Unmasked, for the record.
Without objection.
Now,
oh, boy. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a problem today. It's just too many folks out here doing the same thing, trying to look at these clips. So we'll do it another way. So Mueller said in his testimony yesterday, he says, the report is my testimony. I will stay within that text or context. He said, I'm not deviating. I don't know what you people expect, but this is what it is. So I'm listening to Congressman Ratcliffe talk about the exoneration issue and saying, well, I don't know what law school you went to, but I think Mueller went to an Ivy, went to Yale or one of those Ivy schools. And he was talking about Mueller and exoneration. He says, in my law book, there's no such thing as exoneration. And he goes on and on about exoneration. They should have, and they did beat up on Mueller about exoneration. There is no such thing as exoneration. And certainly the special counsel didn't have that power. So when I'm listening to this yesterday, I'm going, why aren't the Republicans focusing on the fact that Mueller cannot exonerate the president because he doesn't have the power to? See, he made what's his name, Mueller, admit that he did not have the power to exonerate the president. He made it very clear. So when you look for video clips, just video clips of Ratcliffe taking on Mueller, they don't exist. The question is why? That was the best testimony up there. See, so Congressman Ratcliffe just ripped Mueller for making up bogus claims, which is what he did. I'm looking at the Sun-Times, Chicago Sun-Times, and yeah, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, Republican Congressman John Ratcliffe, who went to Case Western in Cleveland, is my hero. He took the whole Washington establishment apart. He didn't waste any time with his brief 5-minute questioning period. He ripped Mueller for making up a standard of guilt only applicable to President Trump. And he goes on to say, he says something like this. This is his quote. Now, your report, and today you said that, open quote, all times the special counsel team operated under, was guided by, and followed Justice Department policies and principles. So, which DOJ policy or principle sets forth a legal standard that an investigated person is not exonerated if their innocence from criminal conduct is not conclusively determined, close quote, said Ratcliffe. That's what he said. Okay. So we're investigating you. You're not exonerated because we can't prove you're innocent from this crime that you supposedly committed because we can't determine if you committed a crime. So Ratcliffe goes on. He says, so wait a minute. This is a direct quote. He says, which DOJ policy or principle sets forth a legal standard that an investigated person is not exonerated if their innocence from criminal conduct is not conclusively determined? Where does that language come from, Director? Where is the DOJ policy that says that? Please make it easier. I can give you you can give me an example other than Donald Trump, where the Justice Department determined that an investigated person was not exonerated because their innocence was not conclusively determined. That's an excellent argument. Excellent argument. It takes all the wind out of the sails for Democrats. Over when we talk about the obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice. Every time we turn, it's the president obstructed justice. And I go, well, how? Give me an example of how the president obstructed justice. And they can't do it. Didn't happen. I'm looking for something. Hold on 1 second. Oh, here it is. This, now, folks, for those of you out there on Facebook and YouTube, this is the headline in the Chicago Tribune. Okay. This is the headline. Mueller rejects Trump's claim. So, you know, the president's saying that the report said no collusion. And what else did the president say? Oh, he said it says no collusion and no conspiracy and no obstruction. That's what President Trump says. No obstruction, no collusion. That's what the president says. Well, what Mueller said was, yeah, there's no collusion and there's no obstruction, but I could not exonerate. That means dismiss the charges. That means clearly state that the president is innocent of collusion or obstruction because we couldn't find any evidence of that. Are you following the argument here? Are you following the argument here? So because Mueller and his team did not find Donald Trump guilty of committing obstruction, collusion, then they couldn't exonerate him. They couldn't say, well, it didn't happen. The president didn't obstruct. He didn't collude. He didn't collaborate. There's no conspiracy with the Soviets. But he says all that during his testimony. But at the end, he says, well, I couldn't exonerate. But he doesn't have the power to exonerate the president. Mueller doesn't have that power, nor does the Attorney General of the United States. So let's be clear. No one can exonerate the president because it doesn't exist. Exoneration is not part of the law. So in response to the question posed by Congressman Ratcliffe, Director Mueller said, and I quote, I cannot, but this is a unique situation, close quote. Unique how? The president is not supposed to be above the law. He's supposed to be an any man. That's what they're telling us. That's what they're constantly saying. He's an any man. He's an any man. He's an any man. I like that. He's an any man. So why are we making up rules for the president? He didn't ask us to make up any rules. He said, hey, clear my name or and stop the investigation. If I'm guilty, charge me. If I'm not, which I'm not, then leave me alone. But they set this up so that we can continue to go down this road. And Adam Schiff can stand up and say, well, we're all Americans and we need to play by the rules. Hey, Adam, hey, baby, where's your conclusive evidence that the president colluded with the Russians? We're still waiting on that. Hey, dude, when are you going to spring that on us? Don't wait. Oh, man. Oh, I love it. I love it. So Ratcliffe, whom I'm telling you, I love this guy. He goes on to say, well, you can't. Because he couldn't, he's right. He couldn't come up with an example of exoneration where someone wasn't exonerated because we couldn't prove they were innocent. He said, this is the paragraph from Ratcliffe. He says, okay, well, you can't. That's in response to Mueller saying, I cannot, but this is a unique situation. He says, okay, you can't, but time is short. I've got 5 minutes. So let's just leave it at you can't find it because I'll tell you why. It doesn't exist. The special counsel job, nowhere does it say that you were to conclusively determine Donald Trump's innocence, or that the special counsel report should determine whether or not to exonerate him. It's not in any of the documents. It's not in your appointment order. It's not in the special counsel regulations. It is not in the OLC opinions. It is not in the justice manual. And it's not in the principles of federal prosecution. Wow. And he goes on. I mean, he just lays it out, man. I love this guy. I mean, he's just like, bam, bam, bam. Okay. And then he goes on to say, nowhere do these words appear because respectfully, Director, it is not the special counsel's job to conclusively determine Donald Trump's innocence or to exonerate him, because the bedrock principle of our justice system is a presumption of innocence, except if you're black. No, I'm just kidding. I just thought I'd throw that in there. If you're listening out there. Okay. It exists for everyone. Everyone is entitled to it. The presumption of innocence is what he's referring to, including sitting presidents. That's true. They're every man that supposedly they're not above the law. So, you know, if they're not above the law, then they are entitled to a presumption of innocence also. And because there is a presumption of innocence, prosecutors never, ever need to conclusively determine it. Wow. That is so heavy. That is so heavy. Now, I had hoped to play.
If you'll let me quickly summarize your opening statement this morning. You said in volume 1 on the issue of conspiracy, the special counsel determined that the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. And then in volume 2, for reasons that you explained, the special counsel did not make a determination on whether there was an obstruction of justice crime committed.
Wow. I mean, are we over it or what, huh? I mean, he just kind of rakes him over the coal. Let's continue if we can. Let's see here if I can connect a different way to the internet and see if we can speed things up. Let's see here. But you know, I mean, it's very clear that Radcliffe took some time, this Case Western graduate, and he delivered. But there are a lot of good lawyers come out of Case Western, by the way. I mean, good old Midwestern school. I mean, he just broke it down. He just demolished, in my opinion, he demolished the director. He demolished him. I mean, totally. He did not waste any time taking this guy to test. Take him to the woodshed is what he did. He took him to the woodshed. I'm on Town Hall's website trying to play this clip. And it looks like it does not want to play, but it wants to share. It's got a mind of its own. Oh, man, I tell you, you never know what's going to happen when you turn on the internet. But Radcliffe, I think, did an outstanding job. And he will, I will hope to, I'm sure he's going to be the darling of talk show.
If you'll let me quickly.
Talk show host. Here we go. Let's play it now.
You can't find it because I'll tell you why. It doesn't exist. The special counsel's job, nowhere does it say that you were to conclude that the special counsel report should determine whether or not to exonerate him. It's not in any of the documents. It's not in your appointment order.